Hello and welcome to Everyday Linux User. In today's video we're looking at LibreOffice Calc. So if I bring up LibreOffice Calc, what we're going to do is look at some of the features that are involved with LibreOffice Calc, and so I will show you some of the things that you can do. And what we'll cover is we'll cover formulas, we'll cover pivot tables, we'll cover macros, we will cover custom coloring depending on the value of the cell, and things like that. So let's start off. We need some sample data. So I'm going to create some sample data now, and it's going to be really quick for you. So what I've created here is a simple spreadsheet, and it's got the results from the Scottish Premier League. So we've put this in sheet 1. So we've got a date, a time, home team, home score, away team, and away score. So on this date, Kilmarnock and Livingston drew 2-2. And so let's rename that sheet. And you can do that here, just like that, and we'll call that results. And what we want to do is create a league table. So what I'm going to show you here is how formulas work. So if I click here, plus, I can rename this one to league table. I'll show you a few of the formulas that you can use. So when you think of a league table, you need the position, you need team name, how many times they played, how many times they won, how many times they drew, lost, how many goals they scored, how many goals against, the difference, and the points they scored. So what we're going to do is make those bold, and let's enter the team names that we used in the previous sheet. So Aberdeen, Dundee FC, Dundee United, and we've got Celtic, Falkirk, doing this by memory by the way, Hearts, Hibernian, Kilmarnock, Livingston. You can see it's quite responsive, there's no lag whilst I'm doing this, only the speed at which I can type. So there we go, we've got all the teams there. Now here for position we can just use equals row or do -1, and that gives us our position, and you can drag that formula down just by dragging like that, and that will fill in the other places. Now to get the number of games the teams played, we'll start off with a countif function. And all these functions are very similar to the ones that you have with Microsoft Excel. When I say similar, exact. So if I use a countif here, when I copy this sheet to Excel, it will work. So countif that, and what we can do here is we can take away the numbers, and then we can go to the league table, and we can do B2. If we do that, you can see it says 3 times, but that's not true because we've also seen that Aberdeen's played in the away team as well. So we need to add in the other half. So what we can do is copy this countif, and instead of column C, it's column E. And there you can see when you type it in correctly, for some reason it put Easter Sunday in there, you can see we've got the right number of games played. So if we go back to here, Aberdeen, 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 and there's one down here, Aberdeen. I don't think there's any more. There isn't. So 4 is correct. And we can drag this formula down as well. Now to get the number 1, the games that the team has won, we can use something called the sum product formula. So, and again, this formula is available in Excel. So we're going to open up 2 brackets, and we're going to say where that, and again we don't want all these numbers, we can just use the letters like that, and we're going to go equal, and in here we're going to say Aberdeen like that, and where that's true we use the asterisk, and we open another bracket, and we do all of those like that, and we want it where that is greater than that score. And again, we're going to get rid of the numbers off the end. By removing the numbers, it means it's using every row in the sheet. So if we ended up entering more and more results, it's going to continue to work. So we do that, and we close that off like that, and that will tell you that Aberdeen haven't won at all yet. But as before, you need to think about where Aberdeen is away, and they might have beaten a team in the home score. So we're going to take this, and we're going to plus, paste that in, and this time all we need to do is where, and we can just flip that around like that, and Aberdeen still won no games. So you might think it's not worked, but if I drag down, you see Hearts have won 4 times. So when we come to the drawn column, it's a very similar thing. So we can copy the whole formula like this, and then we go into here, paste it in, and instead of it the greater than equal to, we can just replace these with the equal symbol. And you see Aberdeen drawn once, and we drag this down, and we get the rest of the results. And for the loss column, we do the same again. You want to copy the formula, not the actual value. Like that. But what we want to do is flip these around. So because we want the opposite of what we did for 1. So we go like that, and you see that's now how many they've lost. And we drag down like that. And you can see this is building up quite quickly. You can extend the size of a column just by double clicking on the thing. And for goals scored, we're going to use a function called SUMIF. So SUMIF that team name, and then you select the team that you want to pick. So in this case, Aberdeen. And then the column you want to sum up. So we want to sum up the home score column like this. But as before, it's only 1/2 the coin, because Aberdeen might have scored when they were away from home. Therefore, their goal scored will be in that column. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the whole of this again, and we're going to do plus, and we're going to change that to an E, and we'll change that to an F. And LibreOffice Calc has a habit of changing your formulas for you. Like that. So Aberdeen haven't scored at all, but everyone else has. And for the goals against, what we do is take this formula again, go into here, paste it in, but in this time, instead of column D, we want column F on the first one, because that's the goals that were scored against them, and on the second side we want column D, and you can see it keeps plugging in various functions there that we don't need, which is a bit of an annoying autocorrect thing. Now you can see when I drag that down, it's all bold, but what we're going to do is, I've obviously got the formatting on there, all I have to do is click that and that turns that off. Now goal difference is easy, it's just that number minus that number, or it should be, like that, and again we can drag all the way down. And points, it's equals, now a win is worth 3 points, so we take that number and we times it by 3, and then we plus the drawns because they are worth 1 point, like that, and then we drag down, job done. So now we have a full league table, and the point of this is I'm not expecting you to remember all these formulas and stuff, but the formulas you're using here are the same ones you would use in Microsoft Excel. So if you're a Windows user and you're worried about coming across to Linux because it won't have the same features in your Office suite as you have in Microsoft Office, then rest assured most of the features are the same. So for instance, now let's look at this league table and let's sort it. So we're going to select the table and we're going to go to data and we can go to sort here. And how do we want to sort it? Well, we want the team with the most points to be at the top and the team with the least points at the bottom. So we can take points and we can sort that descending. Now if they're tied on points, you want to do it by goal difference. So we then choose goal difference and we do that descending. And then we can do another one, the team with the most goals, and then do that descending. And you can see it adds another one in. And if that one's the same, let's do it by team name and we'll make that ascending. So all we have to do now is click OK. And you see Hearts rise to the top and Aberdeen goes to the bottom. Now the great thing about what we've done thus far is if I add another result in here, for instance, I say today, add in another result and it's the 20th. And let's say this time Falkirk 0, Aberdeen 2. If I go back to the league table, then you can see Aberdeen's points have changed and Falkirk's haven't, but you can see Aberdeen now have a win. The trouble is the table hasn't sorted. Now what I could do is go down here, data, sort, and we can do the same thing as we did before. And now Aberdeen rises to the top. The trouble with that is it's quite a lot of keystrokes each time. So in LibreOffice you have macros like you do in Excel. To turn them on, you go to Tools, Options, and under Advanced you can see this Enable Macro Recording. So if we want to sort the table using macros, what we can do is Tools, Macros, Record Macro, and you've got this icon up here. So now all we have to do is select our table, do Data, Sort. We've already got our sort options in place. We just click OK, and then we do stop recording. We give our macro a name, so we can do sort league table, and we click save. So now if we go back into our macros and we can go organize macros basic, you can see we've got this sort league table. If for instance we add in here like this, you can see that St Mirren should be above Hibernian, but we can just do data, we can just do tools, macros, one macro, and click the sort button there, and you can see St Mirren goes to the top. But we can do more than that. We can assign the macro to a key. So if I go down to macros and we go to this here, we can assign it to a key. So for instance, I could assign it to the F3 key. So we've got this sort league table here. It's a little bit clunky, you have to go down this menu, and then we click on F3, assign. And I find that if you, this just works in Calc, but you can make it in LibreOffice as well. So the F3 key should now help sort the table. So if I go back here and we delete this row out, you can see that St Mirren is still above Hibernian, but if we press F3, Hibernian now goes above St Mirren. So that means every time you change your table, you can just press the F3 key and it will sort your table. Now you can also have it so you link it to sheet events. So if we go down here, sheet events, we can have it so when content changes or when formulas calculate, it runs that macro. Now I found this a little bit hit and miss, it doesn't always work, so I'll do it and we'll see what happens. So let's add in So what you didn't see there was the application actually crashed because it was trying to calculate this table continuously as I'm trying to edit the row in. So you've got to be careful the way you assign your macros. Let's move on to something else now. Let's look at pivot tables. So a pivot table is quite a common thing that people that use Excel often use. So we're going to rename the sheet and we're going to call it pivot. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this table here. We're going to do data, pivot table, insert or edit, current selection, and we're going to put it on this tab here, and we're going to say let's have the team name as a row field, and we'll have the games won as a data field. We'll click OK here, and you can see for each team it shows you how many they've won, and you can filter down so you can just see Celtic for instance, and it gives you totals and stuff like that, but you can have all of them. We can edit the table at any point, so if we want won, drawn and lost, and you could actually build up the entire league table the way we did before. Now the trouble with this is that you've got this totals row, so you can go in here and click on properties, and I believe there's an option here, total columns, we want no, total rows, no. And that just gives you the league table. And there's loads of features within the pivot table. So if you're used to using pivot tables in Excel, then you shouldn't find it too much of a problem using pivot tables within LibreOffice Calc. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at charts. So I click plus and we'll add in charts here. And we are going to insert a chart. And we'll start off with a pie chart. And the data range we want to be our league table. Like that. And data series. Now we don't want all of the columns. Say we just wanted the number of points. You can see I've set up for the points column, the range for the Y values is J2 to J13, and for the categories we've gone B2 to B13, which is the name of the teams. So if you insert data labels, it will give you a number, showing you the number for each of the items. You can add a title, and we can call it most points, and that tells you the most points per team, like that. Don't have to just have a pie chart, you can have any one of these types of charts as well. So let's do a column chart. Let's do the data range, and we're going to choose goal scored this time. And then the data series, I believe, will be your team names. And then you have to click on the Y values. It's a little bit clunky in places. So the Y values is actually going to be this here. And you can see if we add some elements in, And there we have it, charts within LibreOffice Calc. Let's show you something else. Let's look at the results tab. Now the thing with the results is they show you the list of results, but just looking at it you can't tell which team has won. So we're going to do something called conditional formatting. So if I click on here, I can go to format, conditional, and condition, and then more rules. And we can say if that is greater than that, then we can change various things. So for instance, we could add a new style, and we can say background, color, and we can make it green. And then we can add another one, and we can say if the formula that is equal to that, then we want to change the color to grey. And we'll add one more in, and we'll say if that is less than that, then we want to change the background color to that. So we press OK now, you can see that the cell has gone grey. Now if we want to edit this, because what we want to do is we want to take off the $ here, like this. And the reason for that is if we want it to work all the way down the list, we don't have to enter the same rules for each thing. If you click up here and click the paintbrush, you can then just select all the rows you want to paint into, and it will apply the formatting for each of the rows. So you can see Dundee lost to Hibernian, so it's gone red, and Celtic beat St Mirren, so it went green, and so you can see the rules are in place. So what about the away cells? We want those to change colours as well. So format, conditional, condition, more rules. And it's very similar, but it's the opposite way around to the one before. So what we're going to do is formula is less than this one. And we're going to again take off the thing here. We're going to click new style, and we're going to do background color green, and then we're going to add another one, and we're going to say that is equal to that. I'm going to take off the $ again. And finally we're going to add one more. Now let's see if this works. We're going to take this one, we're going to hit the paintbrush, and we're going to drag down, and you can see it has. So where Dundee lost, Hibernia won, and it works all the way down, so you can see which team won and lost or drew based on the colours of the cells. Now, there's so many features within LibreOffice Calc, I can't possibly show you all of them, but you can see that if you're a basic user of Excel, maybe you do invoicing, maybe you use it for things like this, for sports, maybe you just use it for lists. Spreadsheets can be used for all manner of things, but you can see that LibreOffice Calc has a huge number of features, and so you can do most things that you can do with Excel within LibreOffice Calc. Now, the macros probably aren't going to work between the two systems. They have a different syntax to them, so don't expect that if you've got an Excel workbook with lots of macros that they're suddenly going to work in LibreOffice. But you can record similar macros to do the same thing and get them working. And there's a whole sort of like VB editing language that you can use. Not something I'm overly familiar with in LibreOffice Calc. I don't do enough work within LibreOffice to be able to show you that in any sort of detail. When it comes to saving, you can save it in the LibreOffice format. You can also save it as an Excel workbook, various different Excel workbooks in various other formats, CSV for instance, OpenOffice, XLSX, which is the Microsoft format, and obviously if you've got macros you'll want the XLM version down there. But for now, that is the end of the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next time on Everyday Linux User.